So on Valentine's Day in 1999, my mother gave me a book. Now, I had been journaling for years, so I didn't think much of it. But then 4 years later, to the day, I was diagnosed with incurable stage 4 cancer. And while I was preparing this video, I finally understood what she was really giving me. So if you're new to me, hi, I'm Kris. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, cancer thriver, and wellness coach. And I help people feel better, live bolder, and create more meaningful lives. And one of the ways I do that is through a creative writing practice called Story Power. But recently, that practice taught me a really powerful lesson. Okay, so I'm sitting at my desk trying to figure out what I want to tell you about journaling, which is something that I've been doing for over 40 years. That's a lot of pages. Where do you even start? And above my desk is a shelf with my favorite writing books. These are the ones that I always come back to reference. And while I'm sitting there thinking about today's video, my eye lands on a book that I have not opened in years. It's called The Artist's Way at Work. My mother gave it to me ages ago, and I suddenly wondered if maybe she wrote an inscription inside, which she usually does. So I pull it off the shelf and I open it to the first page, and there it was. To Kristen, bring all the beauty forth from your soul. I love you, Mom. Valentine's Day, 1999. So back then, I was in my late 20s going through a brutal breakup, and my heart was totally shattered. I was questioning everything, where I was living, what I was doing. And for the first time in years, I had actually stopped journaling. Now, I had been filling notebooks since I was 14. But suddenly, when my life started falling apart, which is when I actually needed to journal, my journal was the first thing I abandoned. What was I thinking? Okay. And maybe my mother had sensed this because she's the one who taught me what a daily writing practice looked like by doing it herself my entire life. Here's what's interesting. Cut to February 14th, 2003. The phone rang with the news that I had incurable stage 4 cancer. That night, I opened my journal and I wrote, "Happy Valentine's Day. You have cancer." And from that point forward, my journal became my lifeline. It was a place where I could talk about my fear and my grief and my rage, and most importantly, my hope. Sitting at my desk this week and holding that book, I realized that my mother wasn't just giving me a book. She was guiding me back to the practice that would one day help save my life. Bring all the beauty forth from your soul. So eventually my writing led me to a camera and to 7 best-selling books and a wellness practice that helps people take back their health and their power. And if you want to kickstart your own writing practice, I made a free 5-minute writing exercise called Unstuck and Unstoppable. You can grab it, take it for a spin, give it a try, let me know what you think. It's right below and probably right up there. Now, what I do when I write every day is, like I said, it's very simple. I basically brain dump about 1 to 2 pages. That's it. And I call it the Daily Diggle, which I teach, and I teach other forms of therapeutic writing practices in my Story Power program. But you can call it whatever you want. The point is to do it. I just find that nothing makes a habit stick like a slightly ridiculous name, thus the Daily Diggle. Now, this isn't about being good at writing or writing anything worth sharing. That is not what this practice is about. In fact, you're not supposed to share it. You want to think of it like going to the gym to do reps and get stronger, except what you're building is emotional literacy and connection to yourself. Some days I might write about a dream that I had. Other days it could be a list of things that I have to do or a list of things that I'm worried about or a stream of consciousness conversation with myself about what's happening in my life. And what's interesting is when I do that stream of consciousness, there's always this higher wisdom that I tap into that writes back. It's so profound. Maybe you've had that experience. The point isn't to produce literature. It's to see patterns and hopefully without judgment, which can be really hard. Especially when you reread your journals and you think to yourself, why am I still dealing with this? Oh my gosh, I thought I worked through this years ago. Ugh, I'm still here? Yeah. Well, guess what? That's how growth actually works. What feels like a loop is actually a spiral. So Carl Jung believed that we orbit through the same themes our entire life, the same fears, the same patterns, the same lessons. But every time we come back around, we meet them from a slightly higher vantage point. A new layer of wisdom, a new way of seeing, a new layer of meaning. And your journal is the record of that orbit. So when you sit down 5 years from now and you read what you're writing today, you will see exactly how far you've come. Going back and reading my old journals is honestly, it's like a masterclass in my own life. Of course, it's painful and it's insightful and it's often really funny. But more than anything, it's proof of growth. And it's proof that I couldn't have seen any other way. So that is why journaling is my number one healing practice. If you know my work, you know I have written many books, cookbooks, plant-based living books, books for cancer patients. I have explored so many different healing practices and I have shared them. But journaling is my number one. And it is available to all of us. No special equipment. You don't need a whole lot of cash. You don't even need talent. And science is catching up to the benefits of this very simple yet profound practice. In a recent study, researchers took a group of people and gave half of them a punch biopsy, which is basically a small wound that they could track. The group that did expressive writing healed faster than the control, which actually makes a lot of sense because it's very therapeutic and therefore anti-inflammatory. But it gets even better. So research on what are called epigenetic clocks, which is a way of measuring how fast we're biologically aging, found that people who regularly engage in the arts are aging more slowly at the biological level. And creative, expressive writing is one of those arts. So the more you engage creatively, the more your body seems to respond. So if the science is this compelling, why don't more people do it? Well, the biggest reason is the fear that someone will read it. And while that fear is real, there are also real solutions around it. So you can write in a private Google Doc behind a password. Nobody can see that. You can shred or burn your old journals when you're done with them. You can set a clear boundary with the people in your house. And if you're one of our Story Power students, we created a private portal for your writing that only you can access. Again, the privacy problem is solvable. Don't let it be the reason you don't start writing, because here's what's possible when you do. So in the early days after my diagnosis, here's another story, I couldn't be alone. I had an apartment in the city and I absolutely couldn't be in it. So I grabbed my cat and my journal and I went back to my parents' house. And almost every night around 3 a.m., I would wake up with these waves of inconsolable terror and anxiety. And the only way that I could get through it and back to sleep was to turn that light on and reach for my journal. I would write down everything I was afraid of, what the doctors had said that day, putting it on the page so that I could get it out of my head where I was replaying it over and over again. I'd brainstorm what to do next, and I'd explore who I needed to become to go the distance with my disease. Or sometimes I would just write, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, until my hand got tired and eventually so did I. But no matter what I wrote, the effect was always the same. It would calm my nervous system and help my brain go back online where I could actually think rationally and make good decisions instead of living in the worst case scenario and just future tripping in super destructive ways. I was better able to navigate what was actually happening as a result of writing. It helped me stay present, where for the most part, I was okay. And that was over 20 years ago, and I am still here and I am still writing. I'm 54 years old, and this practice has truly changed my life. I've been writing daily for over 40 years, and I am looking forward to another 40 years of learning about myself, of learning about others, and learning about the world around me through the page. The most important practice in my life was put back into my hands on Valentine's Day, 1999, by my mother. Neither of us knew what was coming, but that practice helped me orbit through the hardest things that I'd been through and turn them into the work I now share with you. And if you want to explore therapeutic, creative, expressive writing with me, then I mentioned a program that I created called Story Power. It's a 5-week creative healing process to release what you've been carrying and write what comes next. So if you are ready to clear what's been holding you back and step into the life that you want, Story Power is where that work happens, and we can do that together. The link, again, is in the description or probably right up there. As always, take what helps, just leave what doesn't, and remember to bring all the beauty forth from your soul, my friends. I'm sending you so much love.